Podcast from the Six Figure Academy. I am your host, Wei Hong from the Six Figure Academy. This is the podcast where we give you tips, strategies, and interviews with other entrepreneurs on how to create that ultimate six-figure entrepreneurial lifestyle, free of bad money stories, money anxiety, and stress so that you can monetize your dreams and execute your genius. Now, if you haven't already downloaded our free book, From Money Anxiety to Six-Figure Mastery, make sure you go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com and get it there. It's the perfect complement to all the things we discuss on the show. And quite frankly, we've been told it could change your life. Now, if you are joining us live today and you are not on YouTube Live, make sure you get on Spreaker.com and download the Spreaker app on your mobile device and search for the hashtag The Money Lab, so that you can join us in the chat room, ask questions, interact with us and our guest, and even request a specific topic to discuss that will help support you in your quest for the ideal six-figure lifestyle. Now, while you're there, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. You can catch us every week. Now, for all other ways to find us, go to thesixfigureacademy.com/radio for all the details. And if there's something that you love about what you hear in this episode today and you want to pay attention today because there's some really cool things, I love what our guest talks about and does for a living. And then you know what if she shares something that could help someone that you care about, remember, sharing is caring. Share this show to that person. So without any further ado, what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background about my guest today, because I'm really excited because what she does for her clients is very much in alignment with a lot of what I preach to my students and my clients. Her name is Nancy Gaines, and she's the CEO and founder of Gain Advantages, Inc., and has been advising small businesses and Fortune 100 companies on how to increase revenues, money, through proven systems for almost over 2 decades. She's a best-selling author and international keynote speaker, and she has been named in the top 100 productivity experts. And who doesn't want to be productive? To follow on Twitter, has a global podcast, which I've been on as well, downloaded in over 75 different countries. I can't even say, I don't think I can claim that either. Actually, I haven't been following, so who knows? And her passion is compressing the time it takes for entrepreneurs to get profitable, because slow and inefficient drives her nuts. And it drives me nuts too, because I'm what you call an impatient entrepreneur. So it's perfect synergy today. Welcome to the show, Nancy. So glad we could finally get you on.
Hey, Wei, thanks for having me. I'm really super excited to share lots of tips with your listeners.
Yeah. How is the weather there? I know the weather here has been kind of off and on. It was cloudy and it's actually rained this morning, but now it's super sunny, which is weird. And you're out there in what, Colorado?
I'm in Colorado. We've had about 5 or 6 days of rain. Today's the first day of sun. So super excited to get out and ride my brand new mountain bike that I bought over the weekend.
That's right. You were just telling me you got a brand new. And so what was the allure? Have you ever had a mountain bike before?
No, I know how to ride a road bike. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go downhill and run over stuff. That way, it was so cool to just run stuff over. And the bike doesn't tip over.
So is it about the riding or was it about running stuff over?
It was all of it. It was just fun to be outside and knowing that I could do it. It's actually a really good confidence builder.
Oh, yeah? How's that?
Part of it is the bike was bigger than I'm used to, wider, taller. And so you got to really control it. And here's the best tip. You have to look further. You can't look right over your wheel. You have to look 15 feet ahead of time or you're going to fall over in those tiny little things. So it was like mind and body and weather all at one time.
Yeah. And how did you figure that out? Did you actually find yourself staring too much down right in front of your wheel or what happened?
At the start of the class, we did have an instructor who gave us about 30 minutes of tips and said over and over again, don't look in front of your wheel because wherever your head looks is where you're going to end up. So look straight ahead, going over bridges, going over rocks, going downhill, uphill. So they were really good.
Yeah, I love that you're mentioning it because that actually is absolutely relevant to entrepreneurs as well. Wouldn't you say that, whatever we put our energy and intention and our eyesights on as an entrepreneur, that's where we'll take our business too, right?
Absolutely. What does they say? What you focus on expands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to hit that rock. I'm going to hit that rock. And then you're going to hit the rock. So
yeah, kind of like the guy in the Hollywood said, we're going to die. We're going to die. Who dies first? So that's cool. I think, as time goes on, I see another book in the future coming out, The Zen of Mountain Biking and how that relates to systematic success.
And the subtitle is going to be, This is So Rad. How about that?
And I'll write a little review on the bag that says totally gagged me with a spoon with this one. Okay, so cool. So this is the Money Lab. Let's get that out of the way because I really want to dive deep into what it is that you do for a living because there's a whole entire module in one of my online courses where it's all about systems, and that is pretty much your entire business of what you do to help people go from 6 to 7 and figure success and be really truly successful and enjoy the freedom that their businesses are helping them achieve. So let's get the money piece out of the way. So this is the Money Lab. We always want to kind of talk about what was your money story, because the title of today's episode is how traumatic events can create money anxiety. So you have a really, really kind of a unique and yet at the same time maybe not so unique money story that a lot of people can probably relate to. So what was your money story that you grew up with?
So a couple different stories, but the most impactful one is I lost my dad unexpectedly when I was 16 years old. So sophomore in high school, thinking you're going to have both parents, I come home and find police cars in our driveway, priests, all sorts of people that were at our house in the middle of the afternoon. As I'm walking in the front door, my brother opens the door and says, "Dad died." And the first thing I did is I went to find my mom. And I said, "Mom, you guys had insurance, right? Life insurance. We're going to be totally fine money-wise, right?" And I'll never forget the long pause that she gave me. She goes, "Actually, we were going to sign the papers as soon as your dad got back from this business trip. Obviously, he didn't make it back." So that was really anxious at 16.
Oh, I bet. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that wasn't your first question though. I'm assuming it's, oh my God, what happened, or whatever case may be. It wasn't like immediately saying, or was it?
Actually, I'm a pretty practical person. And for some reason, I have no idea why I remember that moment, but that was a moment I remember. And then it got worse way. So about 6, she said, "No, but don't worry, we'll be fine." Of course, that's what mothers say. And about 6 weeks later, a police car drives up. And I'm looking out the window. I'm like, "Mom, the police are here. The police are here." She comes tearing down the stairs, gets us all together in a huddle and says, "If any one of your kids opens that door or says a peep, I will just beat you silly." I mean, she used a little bit stronger words, but you get the gist. And I'm like, "What's going on?" I mean, we were brought up that police will help us. And it turns out it was really somebody coming to serve us the eviction papers or the foreclosure papers. And I didn't realize that at 16 that you could lose your house for non-payment, but she wasn't paying the bills because we didn't have money. And that kind of messed me up for life, Way.
Wow. How did that? I mean, in that moment, there was probably a huge money lesson right there that you learned in putting it all together. And it's so cool to hear that. I mean, you're completely wired to be an entrepreneur because the first thing you're thinking about, okay, the money piece and everything like that. Are we covered? Are we taken care of? So what was that lesson that you walked away with in that moment when you were experiencing that? I mean, how old were you then?
I was 16. And one of the biggest lessons is the importance of insurance. So life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, simple insurance, even long-term care now as I'm getting older. Insurance, I hate paying the premiums because I'm like, why am I paying this? I'm not getting anything for it. But not having it as a kid just really dug it into my head is you have to insurance for emergencies because emergencies happen all the time. So that was one of the things. The other thing is I became a saver because I always wanted to have that cushion in case something came up. Lost a job, divorced. I was in a divorce. Luckily, I called it a secret savings account. But having a savings account gives you a little bit of confidence. So yeah, it kind of messed me up.
Yeah. And so, but those sound like pretty sound lessons though. I mean, what part of that actually can be classified as messed you up? Because you seem pretty well put together and everything. I guess we would have to kind of ask you about your journey of where it appeared to be have been a little messed up.
Well, it felt messed up graduating from college and you're trying to pay your first apartment, first rent, and you're trying to budget. And I knew I needed insurance. And how do you fit that in when you're barely making $20,000 when I graduated? So you're always wrestling with this. I know I need this. Should I really pay for this? So that messed me up. And we could talk about sales too once we get through this story, because that messed me up as well.
Okay.
But yeah, now I'm really, I've seen people have like a death in their family at my age, and the kids are left with nothing. And it just brings back memories of it could have been prevented if they talked to somebody about that.
Right. And so I'm surprised that you didn't end up, creating a career just around insurance and helping people like avoid it. Because this story would have been a perfect story to kind of help in your sales conversations, right?
It probably would have been.
Yeah.
Business is in my DNA, so I just have to stick with that. But I'll tell you a money story about sales, because if you don't have sales, you don't have a business, right?
Right.
I hated selling when I was a kid. I hated selling those world's finest chocolate candy bars. I hated selling Girl Scout cookies. I hated selling raffle tickets because I felt like I was bothering people. Do you see that with some of your clients? Like sales is bothering people?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things because they were so bothered by bad salespeople growing up. So they say, I don't want to do that for anybody else. And so there's an association with that, which then contributes to their money story. But the bottom line is, I mean, like you said, business is in your DNA. You can't not have a business without sales involved somewhere, right?
You absolutely need sales. So putting these two stories together, asking people for their money when I was a kid, and then not having money when my dad died, together kind of left me what I don't want to sell to people because maybe they don't have money. Maybe they didn't save money, or they had do you see how that fits together?
Yeah, totally. Wow.
So I got like the double whammy.
So it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like, you need the money to get the insurance, but at the same time, you don't want to bother people for the money. So what do, right? So what did you do then? How did you wrestle free of this this struggle with this anxiety around the money piece, being having to get the money to get the insurance that you need, and not willing to do the sales necessary to generate the money?
Yeah, so today my business is rocking because I see sales as how do I serve people? How am I helping them? And I'm doing a disservice if I know they're having problems in their business. I know I can help them. I need to get over that. And I'm not pushing me on them. I'm actually helping them. That was kind of a big takeaway. It took decades to figure that out. I've been in business about 4 years, so
4 years?
I didn't have to sell. Yeah, I was in corporate before.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. And you have a rockin' business just 4 years. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, very cool.
So we'll take it wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, but you were in sales though when you were in the corporate world, right? Or
no, I was an IT consultant, a project manager.
Wow, look at you, you're a sharp little cookie.
I just had to implement it.
Wow. And so what was the turning point then? Okay, so when we're talking about the money story, when was it after you became an entrepreneur that you really had to get this money anxiety piece handled, this money story handled?
Absolutely. Being an entrepreneur, there's nobody making the sales. It was me. And I was selling a service versus a product. I've had businesses where I sold a product like taxes or a rental unit, but selling services, that was really different because I'm selling me, I'm selling my brand, and nobody knows me. When you're in the corporate world, people, you know who the go-to people are, right? They come to me for project management. It was super easy. I had a brand. Yeah, being an entrepreneur, that's the difference.
Yeah. And was it like right from the get-go, right out of the gate that you said, okay, I got to get this addressed? Or did you kind of hit a few blocks when you first came out, just being an entrepreneur going, what is this thing? Not knowing exactly that the money story was getting in the way. When did it show up really so that you realized you had to kind of like, oh, I got to take care of this?
I wasn't asking for the close, right? I wasn't asking people to work with me. I just expected them to say, oh, just come hire me. So that was a blocker. You have to ask for the sale. I had no sales system. So we can tie this back to systems. Everything in business is a system. So sales is, how do you prospect? How do you have a conversation? What do you say? What's your script? I had no system. So I was winging it. And probably a big turnaround point was when I said, duh, I teach systems and I don't have any systems myself.
You're like the cobbler's kids. The kids don't have any shoes, but all the clients or customers are taken care of, right?
No wonder I didn't have any results. I wasn't following a system. So I don't know if you've heard this way, but system really stands for, it's an acronym, save yourself some time, energy, money. SYSTEM. Save yourself some time, energy, money.
Wow. Save yourself some time, energy, and money. I'm going to steal that actually. Oh, I'll credit you for it, but that's awesome. That's the first time I've heard of that. Is that something that you created or did someone else teach you that?
I stole it from someone else. I don't know who it was.
We're going to keep paying it forward. I'll credit you and you keep crediting the person.
When you have systems in place, everything runs better. You don't have to think about it. I was no longer guessing how to make a sale. I would prepare, look over my stuff, and I would just follow the stuff on a phone call or kind of glance over it there if it was face to face.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, I like I was saying, I mean, I preach this all the time. You know, entrepreneurs that feel stuck or they feel caged, or systems will set you free. You know, and I don't care if you have a thing about routines or any of that stuff. Fine, then find someone else like Nancy to help you create the systems, and you just follow it. Don't, or have your team follow it, and you just stay in your little free non-system space. But just make sure your team is doing it right. Your business is following.
Work. So here's another really cool thing. Anything you do twice needs a system. Anything you do 3 times should be automated. So if you're doing something over and over and over, it needs a system. And if it's really taking up your time, just automate it so you can set it and forget it.
Oh, I love that. So anything that you do twice, you've done twice already, requires a system. And anything you've done, you find yourself doing, that's almost everything everybody does in their business.
Yeah.
So how do I automate myself? Because I use myself all the time.
Is that a serious question?
Kind of. I guess that's called cloning, right?
Yeah, well, here's a good money thing, since this is all about the money. Figure out what your hourly rate is. That's what I call your magic number. So figure out whatever you are worth per hour, what you charge, and anything less than that magic number, duplicate yourself by outsourcing that to somebody else. So you only focus on the things that your magic power number and higher.
I guess the question is, the key thing is then what, you know, deciding what the magic is that we each uniquely do that can't be duplicated, right? Or what it is that we love doing and we don't want to duplicate. We don't care about duplicating.
Yeah. Play in your superpower zone and give everything else away.
Play in my superpower. I will be playing in my superpower. No, but I love that. You know, there are days, you know, I'm big on this too. So there are days where because I have 3 companies that I'm running at the same time. And there are days where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I actually have free time. And I'm sitting there going, why do I feel like I should be doing something? And then I realize, no, I'm checking in on all these different things and everything is being handled and everything. And I'm sitting there, this is the systems thing.
It's nice, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So when you were going back to your story, you became an entrepreneur and you started to realize, oh, wait, I'm not using systems for myself. Was there a moment where you said, oh, this money thing, I've got to handle this piece because otherwise it's actually impacting my flow of money into my business?
Oh, yeah, I could tell you when that was. That was when I got home and opened the mail and got an IRS love note telling me I'm being audited.
Wow. Okay.
I invested so much, over 6 figures in my entrepreneur education, which was great. Every single thing was awesome. But obviously, the investment out was much higher than the investment in. So when I got an audit letter saying, how come your tax return doesn't, you're not making money. One, I said, okay, I need to make more money to justify this education. And 2, I don't ever want to sit through that office again. It took me a week to prepare all the receipts and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of a wake up call of let's get this thing put together.
Yeah. I still remember, I mean, that's one of my biggest things too, is that whenever I talk to a new accountant or talk to my CPA, I always double check, like, if I get audited, you're going, right? You got me covered, right? And they said, yes, Wei, that's what you pay me for so that I can represent you. I'm like, okay, great, good. As long as you
do. I went by myself, and luckily I keep very detailed records. So they sided in my favor, which was awesome. But I said,
great.
It was a big wake-up call that looking at how much I was putting out versus how much I'm putting in. And I totally believe in investing. Most entrepreneurs underinvest and then they're not seeing the results they want. But I needed to get my sales caught up with some of my investment. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, you're absolutely right. A lot of entrepreneurs, what I call wantrepreneurs, right? Most of the time, entrepreneurs, even when, I don't think there's any exception. Every entrepreneur, even when I started a new business, last year just opened up in a whole new company. In the beginning, everybody starts off as a wantrepreneur because you're figuring it out and everything. How do you structure this business? And at some point, you make that transition to an entrepreneur, and there is a flip switch that happens. But as a entrepreneur, it's like, yeah, you hold on to money too much, and you don't invest enough in the business because, I mean, that's just kind of like the nature of entrepreneurship. Whereas in the corporate world, you don't have to worry about that, right? You just take the money. Yeah, basically, take someone else's money and just put it somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So okay, cool. So the IRS was your turning point, and so at that point, what did you do to kind of change things around? What was the biggest shift that happened in that moment? Or was it a strategy, or was it a mindset shift? What happened?
A lot of things came together. First of all, my messaging came together. So coming from the corporate world where I was a consultant, I knew so many different skills, and I was not niching enough. So people didn't really know what I did. So when I got very confident about what I did, I coined the name Business Productivity Expert, and then I owned that. The second is I really systemized my business. So there's 5 areas, and one of them you'll like, it's money,
Hey.
sales, marketing, people, and then your operations. And I said, I have not systemized in any of those areas. So I first systemized my marketing, so it was more consistent. Then I did my sales and figured out how to really all those scripts coming together. And then, of course, then I had money, which I could systemize because it was starting to flow in.
Right.
So, and then I brought on a team member, and then eventually I was doing the operations too. So all of that is kind of the big change.
Right. So if for people that are listening in, they're listening, God, there's so many different areas that you have to build systems. And what if they're in the same position as you were, which is have no systems anywhere? Where would you recommend that they first start? Where would you first start building the first set of systems?
Definitely sales and marketing, because if you don't have money coming in, money makes all the difference. Money solves everything. I think Mark Cuban says that when you have money, I mean, you can give it away, you can gift it, you can do more things in your business. So get your sales and marketing, fill your pipeline, have sales conversations, convert and start delivering, and then you can get the rest of the things in place.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, like too many people think they need to be on all the social media sites. I say go deep. Even the power of one, where you're on like one social media site with one product, solving one problem. Do that for a whole year, for 1 year, and you'll see such big results.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we live in a time right now where you can have niche so precisely to a needle point, and you could still make $1 million doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll probably make it faster too, because you're only focusing on one thing. You're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Right. And you're not confusing your audience, so they don't know what to do, because confused people don't buy.
Right.
Ever.
And I was quite confusing in my first early years of my business.
Okay, so what was your message before you kind of turned this around? So let's just see how broad it was. What was your original message?
A business consultant. I mean, how broad is that, right?
It's like life coach, right? It's like, oh
yeah, like what do you coach on?
Life.
What part of life? All of it.
All of it.
I was way too broad. So now I talk about systems, and I really work with 2 types of people. People whose business is picking up steam, and they just can't, they're wearing all the hats and they just can't juggle it all. It's great to get the money coming in, but they have no time. They're working late, no weekends, that kind of thing, no weekends with their family. And then people who've already figured that out, but they want to keep it. They want to grow their business and keep that. So
and
that
start scaling in a big way, right?
Yeah. That's what made a big difference.
So I know you mentioned hats, and so one of the things that I just I saw again, because I know about this platform. What do you think of platforms like 17 Hats and these types of software applications or SaaS applications where it helps like the solopreneur, someone who doesn't have all these team members to kind of get things going, and maybe as a starting place or starting point?
So I'm not familiar with that particular one, but one thing I recommend to my clients is called HireMyMom.com. These are women. These are women, usually US based, who can do just about anything. There's graphic design, bookkeepers, virtual assistants, project managers are all on this website. There are moms that are educated in the US who wanted to take time off to grow a family, build a family, but still have some income coming in and keep their skills straight. So I tell people, go out there and just get a few people that work a couple hours for you a month. You don't need to go out and hire an employee and payroll taxes and deal with drama and whatever.
Right.
And it's awesome. So maybe, is that similar to 17 Hats?
Well, 17 Hats is actually just a software that does helps you wear all 17 hats that takes to run a
Oh,
business.
wow.
It does the invoicing, CRM, emails, everything is all encased within you would actually for if you happen to have people like you said, you have two, I was talking to you earlier, you have two different offerings and stuff like that. For the people who are just starting out and are they're solopreneurs, I'm surprised you'd actually don't know about the platform. It's
Oh,
17hats.com, which
huh.
is, kind of like I wear so many different hats. What do I do? And it's like a mess. And they created a SaaS application model, SaaS, right? SASE, I like whatever. And it basically helps them consolidate all their systems into one platform, so they just log in and do everything from there.
That's really cool. I will check that out. But Wei, you know the system, the best system in the world, right?
No,
The
tell
best one.
what?
It's the one you actually follow.
That's a trick question. Yeah. So even if it's a bad system, if you consistently follow it, is it still a good system?
Yeah, it doesn't do any good if people just say I should systemize and never do it. So whether it's paper and pencil, or if it's on a smartphone for younger people, or 17 hats, or even something as big as SAP, like I used to implement,
Mm-hmm.
you just need to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So yeah, that's the best system in the world, the one you actually do.
So I noticed you mentioned and I agree with that too, because this is what one of the things that I always talk about with my students, who sometimes they get to a point where they just get their business grows and it starts to get out of control, and they're like, what do I do? I said, go back to the basics, go back to
True,
the
true.
fundamentals, and follow the building blocks of what took you to where you get, because the basics, it's kind of like when they're always talking about sports and everything like that. What do you do when you start to go off the rails and everything? Go back to the fundamentals, because the fundamentals are always reliable. They're the old reliables, right?
I agree with that. That's probably, you asked what some of my changing points were. Absolutely. I said, what am I doing? I need to go back to just, hitting and what do they call it? Blocking and tackling, just the
Yeah,
basics,
yeah, exactly. Dribbling.
dribbling.
Just dribble, ball control.
Yeah.
And same thing in volleyball too. When I play volleyball, I play volleyball every week. I don't know if you remember now. We talked about this, but play beach volleyball, and sometimes I get myself all in my head trying to be fancy on the court, and then what I forget is like, oh, if I just serve, have good ball control, pass, put the ball where it needs to go, and just control the ball, that's all I need, and that's the game right there, right?
Absolutely right. I was invited to speak yesterday. I only had 10 minutes and I taught a very simple, there are 5 different, you'll like this too, because this is money. There's 5 levers that impact your profitability. And if you change each one of those just by 10%, you get a 61% increase in your profits. So think about that. A slight tweak here, 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 5 times, bam, your profits are up 61%.
Huh. I mean, and what would be an example of a tweak?
Sure. So the number of leads, if you can increase your number of leads by 10%,
Oh
your
yeah.
conversion rate, whatever that is, increase it by that, which leads to more customers. The number of times they buy from you, you can increase that just by 10%, the average transaction by 10%, and then your margin by 10%. Bam, 61%.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and depending on conversion rates, I know what my conversion rates are. And if I actually just thinking about my numbers here, if I increase by 10%, actually it would be more than 61% in terms of
That's awesome.
yeah, because you're right. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're 6-figure people, once they hit 100,000, if
Mhm.
they make 10% increases in those 5 areas, they'll be at 161,000 for the
Wow.
year or whatever. Pretty
Right.
cool.
Yeah, no, that is cool. And when you break it down to that, and when you systematize that process, it actually makes it. So you mentioned that heard you the acronym back from your IT to SAP, right?
Yeah,
Was that the area that you consulted on when you were in IT consulting?
it was. I was a project manager. I had teams all over the world. It was great. I got to go to China and Germany. And we worked for some pretty big Fortune 50 companies,
Uh-huh.
just putting in systems for them so
Yeah.
that they could have more visibility, more structure, more reliable. Systems
Right.
are reliable, right, Wei?
Yeah, totally. I mean, my cousin for years worked at Deloitte, and he was an SAP consultant for quite a few years there. And just hearing kind of your entire world even before I became an entrepreneur, was all about systems, was all about creating an organization, streamlining and optimizing flow and everything like that. So it just made sense that, I mean, was it something that you always enjoyed doing in terms of optimizing and streamlining and creating systems, or was it something that you just kind of found a love for as you got into it?
No, I was born with this, and I expected everybody was organized and efficient and liked order. This might have happened to you too. We don't know our own superpower because it's just something we do. That's who we are. And it takes somebody else to kind of look at you and say, but you're good at this. I don't know how to do this. Like, someone else has got to point out our superpower to us because it's just us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking about if I was something, if it was something I was born. I don't know if I was born to do this whole money thing. I think it was out of trauma, extreme hell. Being broke, it's like, God, I got to do something about this. But all joking aside, I think ever since because my first business as an entrepreneur was like in high school, because I wasn't allowed to get a job. So I had to sneak around and do some side gigs on my own, which then resulted in my own little business. So I think I had an innate understanding of just how money should flow, that it takes money to make money, that money is like an energy that has to kind of constantly be circulating in order for it to grow. It can't just be held on to and not let go, type of thing. So I think you're right. There was a little bit of innate understanding of like, oh yeah, well, this is money. This is how it works.
It's funny you say that because I was late to the entrepreneur party. I didn't get there till I was almost 50, which is really, okay, in case your listeners are wondering how old I am.
No, I think it's actually a great compliment for you to bring that up. I didn't want to bring that up because I know it's kind of like a social faux pas, but now that you brought it up, I can't get over just how young both you and your husband look. I mean, and then you shared, I think in our conversation right before the show today, I really found out how old you are. I was like, what? So for those of you who are on YouTube, I'm going to stop talking so you can see Nancy's face. Gorgeous, beautiful woman here. And she's, how old did you say you were going to say you were?
52 and a half, and thanks, Wei. I appreciate that. I was late to the entrepreneur party, though. I could barely spell the word. I get the E's and the U's mixed up at the end. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize my dad was an entrepreneur. I would have loved to have him around and kind of teach me how to be an entrepreneur. I never started my own business at 16 or whatever. I always was taught to have a job. So leaving the corporate world to be an entrepreneur was actually kind of scary for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, did your mom ever mention that your dad was an entrepreneur, or did she make any reference about him being an entrepreneur?
No, she called him a salesman. Oh, your dad was a salesman. So when kids said, what does your dad do? I just said he's a salesman. They probably figured we couldn't say the word entrepreneur. Maybe.
and so I have a question. Did you ever find out did your mom ever explain to you how he actually died, or?
Oh, he had a heart attack on a business trip while he was an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that played some kind of unconscious role as well, being both a salesman and maybe an entrepreneur later in life, and how that then there's a childhood correlation? Well, dad was a salesman and he died while he was working.
I never thought of it that way, but anything's possible.
Right. No, and that's what I do. I mean, I find those correlations because usually it's because most of the time when we have challenges around money, most of the time it's anxiety money or bad money stories. It is so deep in there. It's never conscious. It's a super unconscious. We'd go down to where our perception of how the association was with certain things. And maybe that's why it took so long for you to take that leap to be your own salesperson or to be an entrepreneur, because
totally possible.
Right.
Possible, because I remember my parents having arguments. I mean, not like drawn out fist fights, but just, you took a check out of my check register and you didn't write it down, and now this is bouncing, or how are we going to afford to do this? And we didn't take vacations because we couldn't afford to take vacations. And we only had 2 cars where our friends had 4. So there could be something. I bet you're onto something there, Wei. That's your
yeah, that's my superpower. I get to see it. I have money X-ray eyes, bad money story X-ray eyes. I can see what's going on. But no, I think based on what I'm hearing right now, I think it potentially is irrelevant. It would be worth kind of exploring on your own. But I think that could be why you didn't make that leap as early as you probably could have. Simply because. But in the meantime, though, you got amazingly good at developing system, creating system, being able to learn how to optimize Fortune 50 companies. So taking that skill set, I mean, everything's on purpose anyway. So taking that skill set and bringing it to your business today is probably what has been helping you in the short 4 years create the success you've been able to create, right?
Absolutely. I love when people get their time back and they love their business again, and they know it's, if they just follow these steps, that it works. It's like, it's awesome. And when I see someone who's not changing, it just hurts me on the inside because I know I could help them. But people don't buy until the pain's, strong enough that they're like, I'm done with this, help me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest frustrations that I have with the world we live in today. It's like we're trained to not make enough change until the pain is big enough. Like when there's some kind of catharsis going on. I mean, even for me, it took me to be broke on the brink of being homeless and maybe even taking my own life for me to actually do changes in my life. And that's why I always tell people, I wouldn't wish my journey on my worst enemy. What do you do about that when you see something that you probably see it all the time? Is like you see the pain that people are going through and they're just learning how to deal with the pain and live with the pain versus actually doing something about it and changing their business or changing their approach.
So that's a great question. One thing that made a big difference is I realized it's my responsibility to guide them to see what's possible and not stay stuck, because when you're stuck like that and the pain's not enough to change, you're like in that limbo, which really, really sucks. Mm-hmm. You have to get people to realize that that doesn't have to be that way. And you have to gradually lead them out of that so they can see what's possible, and then they're ready to work with you. So right. I like that better than letting somebody bottom out.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs deal with that same challenge of, God, how do I get these people to see the light? What have you found in in the context of your business, in your world, that has really worked for you in terms of helping people kind of see that without having to like you're saying, bottom out and hit rock bottom?
So we'll have to give a shout out to our friend, John Block, because I really like the way he does this. Go, John.
Go, John.
Go, John. I just say to them, without support, you're going to stay where you are. And then you name all these terrible things that are happening. But with support, you could see what's possible. So you have to fill in the blanks based on what your product is. But sure. I love saying, and I tried it on a few people and I was nervous, like, should I really say this? This is kind of like getting in their face. But yeah. When I said it to someone and they said, oh, you're so right, I don't want to be here, and I got a sale, then I tried it again and again and again. Like, this is a system. This works.
Yeah, there you go. It's a system.
It's a system. So yeah,
so cool.
Just point out if you don't change, you're going to be stuck where you are. And when you do change, all this is possible.
Yeah. And I love that model because it really kind of helps, because, a lot of times people are in pain and they don't know why. And I think what you're saying there is you're helping articulate to them in a much clearer way an understanding of how painful it is to stay where they are, what it's costing them, and what the impact is, not just on their business, but to themselves and to their life and everything like that. And sometimes it requires us to kind of flip that mirror, wipe off that fog and say, look, can you just really look at that?
Yeah, it's tough. And I was uncomfortable doing it, but now I know it's my responsibility. When a business owner feels something's off, but they can't really put their finger on it, because I've been there. Mm-hmm. And probably why I spent so much money. I'm like, if I just go to this class, this class has the answer. Wait, okay, that another, 15 grand on this class or whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta, when you're feeling in that spot, people, go get some help, talk to somebody, because that spot sucks.
Yeah, it does. It totally does. I mean, take it from I don't think any entrepreneurs that has achieved any level of success can say like, oh no, I've never been stuck in that weird spot that just like makes me kind of question my own existence.
I want to catch people before they quit, because they left to take on entrepreneurship for a reason. If they don't fulfill that, then the world's not getting their gift, and they quit. People quit right when they're about to be successful. And we can see it because we're on the outside way, but when you're in it, you don't know, like, how much longer do I have to go in this marathon? It's got to be, I got to be turning the page soon.
Yeah. And that's why I say to people all the time, I don't think I'll ever be without either a mentor or a coach ever again in my journey, just simply because I don't want to be stuck swimming in my own little fishbowl without seeing what's going on. I'd rather have someone out there yelling at me, hey, you're swimming the wrong direction. Or, hey, you're almost there. Just a little bit more, 2 more inches. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm on quit now.
A coach is a great investment.
Yeah.
Great investment.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, so it sounds like you work primarily with entrepreneurs. I mean, is that your main demographic in terms of your audience?
Yes, small business owners, not so much corporations. I love corporate was great. And it's given me a lot of lessons, but I love streamlining it down to just what entrepreneurs need. Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners. Mm-hmm. They get all my 2 decades of corporate boiled down into what they need.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds really exciting because I think now I'm thinking about things is that my community could probably use like a webinar that you put on just so that they can kind of understand and meet, talk with you. And some of the people in our community, you probably already know already because they're in your area. And so one of the things that I would love for us to talk offline is maybe having you do a little presentation to our inner community, record that, leave it there. So anytime anybody comes into that resource page, they can actually watch your presentation over and over again. So I think that would be really helpful.
I'd be honored to do that. I'd be honored. Just like you were saying at the start of the show, people have said 1 hour of this information has made a huge difference in their life. They're taking back control of their time, their money, everything. So glad to help out.
Yeah. That would be awesome. So let's talk about the 2 different segments that you focus on. And you said that we were talking right before the show that you've grown your business and now you're starting to tackle a even more powerful segment than before. So let's talk about the 2 different areas that you actually address when it comes to the entrepreneur.
Sure. So the first group is usually under $1 million in revenue, and this is people that are really picking up steam in their business. It's finally coming together. They've got a coach guiding them along, or they took some coaching, and they're feeling that it's just too much to handle. They're wearing all 17 hats. And so we take off some of those hats and get them back on track so they can reclaim their time and their energy and their money. The other group is over $1 million, which is a little bit different mindset. They still are thinking like they were when they were under $1 million, and we have to get them to kind of grow up and systemize, or they're already systemized and they want to maintain that as they grow even further. So 2 different groups.
So how would you help? Yeah. So how would you help someone who has, okay, so here's the ether, right? Someone who has system and they're like moving along. Why would they actually engage with you to maintain, or is it really maintenance, or is it about scaling to a higher level? I mean, if they're $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, and they've got a pretty good thing humming along, what would they need you for in terms of, because you said maintenance, right?
Right. It is scaling. It's definitely scaling. When people get over $1 million, they struggle with growth versus control. And you can't have both when you're over $1 million. You have to give up one or the other, or be okay with just that's as much as you're going to make because you want to touch everything. So what happens with those other people is they usually have more team members, but they're still not using their team like they should. So it's a lot of mindset, a lot of, why are you doing that? And you can grow faster if you let go a little bit of control.
Right. Now you said something interesting. So it's like control versus, what was it? Systems? Growth versus control. So talk about that a little bit, because that's interesting. You said they have to give up one another. If they want to grow, they have to let go a little bit of control, or if they want to keep control, they have to sacrifice growth.
Oh, you said it perfect. Every entrepreneur hits that point. At some point, you cannot do everything. It's impossible. You can, if you choose to do that and you want to hang on to everything, you're giving up additional revenue, additional hitting more lives with your products. And it's okay if that's what you want, but most people want to grow.
So what you're saying is when the entrepreneur ends up being the bottleneck of their growth.
Absolutely.
Choking
That's
their
exactly
growth.
what it is.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. So you basically help them get out of their own way at that point.
Absolutely. For example, I have an amazing client and she wants to do all the scheduling for her team and answering all the calls and making sure everybody's happy and all the customer service, which is great.
Right.
Great. But she also has multiple kids and
wow,
a family, and you've got to, so we talked about implementing a self-service scheduling tool, kind of like I did for this podcast and you for me.
Yeah.
Let people self-serve. People actually like that better.
Yeah.
Right?
Give them control.
When you want to make an appointment, you want to make an appointment. You don't want to wait for someone to call you back and then you're checking your schedule and they're checking their, like, it's all about self-service now in the millennial, right?
Yeah, no, totally. You know, it's just, I'll do it. I'm gonna do it myself. So did you address the fact that she might have a little bit of a super mom syndrome? Like there's pride in being a super mom?
Absolutely. And there was a lot of pushback, but I knew that's what happens. And then people sleep on it for a few days, they process it, and they come back and say, you know, you were kind of right. Or I talked to my husband and he said, you're absolutely right. So it's not most people, it's not an instant, duh, yeah, you're right. It's, and then they come through.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting, I'm really excited to hear more about your, as you go deeper into the $1 million to $5 million, is that what I've noticed is that when you start going into those range of clients and stuff like that, there's actually less pushback. And because they've already gone through the challenge of them getting in the way of themselves, so that you'll probably find there's going to be less pushback in terms of there'll be more honoring, respecting. Okay, great. I'm just going to take it and go. I know when I shifted into when I started working with more 7-figure clients, what happened was that it was so much easier. They would just say, "You're the expert, so just tell me." I was like, "Okay, great, I'll do it." I was like, "That's it? That's all I need to do?"
I have a few of those, but what I'm finding more is people know that they just say, I'm so busy. I have no time. They really want their time back, but they don't know how. It's like they know that's what they need to do. So I come in with the how and say, okay, here's exactly how we're going to do this. So you're right. They're agreeable, but they do need the how.
Yeah. And you probably are dealing with a lot of like high level control type of, type A control type of individuals then for your particular niche anyway,
It takes a lot to grow a business to over $1 million. So there's a lot of pride in that. And if I remove myself, am I going to drop the ball? Am I making the right decision? So there is a lot of that for sure. But you're right. They do accept advice pretty easily.
Versus like, solopreneurs or even, the younger generation, the millennials, like saying, I got this. And they say, you're just here as a window ornament, window dressing. It's like, wait, you're paying me to be a window dressing? What's going on here? So very cool. So, we're actually getting close to the top of the hour, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, right. and so I want to make sure I give enough time because, like I said, there's a lot of things that we're probably going to end up doing, having you come into our community and talking to our group and everything like that. But more importantly, what I want to do is make sure that, our audience here, when they hear you, they're probably going to say, wow, how do I get more information? How do I connect with you more? And you actually have something to offer, actually, for those that want to create more systems, get more freedom in their business. And I absolutely support that entire journey. Anybody who wants to connect with you to really kind of reach out and kind of understand a little bit more. So what is it that you have that they can help understand a little bit more about how you do things and what your approach is?
Thanks, Wei, for the opportunity to share that. My goal is to have people gain back at least 1 hour in their day. Just 1 hour. Can you imagine what you could do with an extra 20 hours a month?
That's huge.
I have a very special free gift for everyone. It's a $500 value. I don't advertise on my website, so you have to write this down. It's called the Productivity Accelerator Success System. It's just 1 hour of 4 different CDs or audio recordings to help you be more productive with your life. Lots of tips and tricks. You can get it at nancygaines.com/PASS, Productivity Accelerator Success System. nancygaines.com/PASS. Really easy to listen to, and you'll get all sorts of great tips to put more systems and structure into your life, personally and business-wise.
Wow, that's very cool. I'm very generous of you. Thank you so much. We actually did have a tip from one of our students here. She said, "Good tip. Going to have to remember." I don't know which tip she's talking about at this point. Glad I tuned in, but yeah. So it's so cool. I mean, there's so many gemstones that you shared today, and If you were to, now you said you're a productivity expert and everything, can you kind of share some of the challenges that someone should tune into as to see how like you would be a good fit to help them kind of take their business to the next level? What are some of the top of mind things that you find is most common in both the people who are trying to kind of systematize their processes and those that are trying to scale up?
Number one, you're doing too many things by yourself. You need to let go and delegate those. So let me give you a couple tips that I made a list of things I wanted to make sure that I said. First of all, if you want more success, you need to systemize more things, which means set it and forget it. So people that are trying to do everything, it's impossible, people. Even just trying to get 80% of your to-do list done it drives a lot of people crazy.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed, totally overwhelmed, your business is picking up steam, let's jump on a call and have a conversation. And by the way, Wei, I'm happy to do a 30-minute consultation, my treat, with anyone who's listening, whether it's live or later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can connect with me, nancygaines.com, and there's a connect or contact us tab, I think is where it's at. nancygaines.com, contact us. Let's just jump on a call and bust through one of your biggest productivity challenges. It'll totally be worth your time. But I want to give some tips too. Can I do that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Throw away your to-do list. Just crumble that thing up, toss it out, and instead make a priority list. And what's a priority? Anything that makes you money, saves you money, or systemize your business. So if you've got junk on your to-do list that doesn't make you money, save you money, or systemize something in your company, scratch that off.
I agree.
Oh, did you want to add to that?
No, I agree. No, it's the same thing. I talk about the same thing. I talk about your business building activities, revenue producing activities, or money producing activities.
It works, right?
Yep.
Another tip is 3-3-3. Basically, this means on your priority list, no more than 9 things. And of those 9, delete 3 of those. They're probably not important. Delegate 3 of those. Give them to somebody else, and then do 3 of those things. Those are 2 easy, actionable tips. So if I never talk to anyone again, do those 2 things and you'll have a big difference in your life.
So what do you say to people who say, I can't afford to delegate?
Oh, everybody can afford to delegate. Remember at the start of the show, we talked about your power number or your magic number. I don't remember what I called it. If it's below your number, you can afford to delegate it because it's not worth your time.
Like housekeeping.
Like housekeeping, like cutting your grass, like before this call, I went down and I picked up my Blue Apron.
Oh, yeah.
Shopping. It just shows up and it's already pre-proportioned. I follow directions. Perfect.
And I have you over here. I use Amazon Prime Now, which goes shopping for me. I just pick out the things that I want and they just deliver it right to me. I don't have to like drive out and go somewhere.
Wait, do you think we're moving toward the George Jetson age? This is so cool.
We totally are. I think so. I don't want to be George Jetson, though. He gets beat up pretty bad at the start of every show.
Yeah, but I just remember that like oven coming out with like food out of a computer and ready to go. I bet the younger listeners.
They have that now. They have that. They're coming out. There's a new Indiegogo thing where they have these little special ovens that it's pre-portioned out in these containers that they ship to you. And then you just put it in a different container and you just hit start and it cooks it all perfectly in the way it should be cooked.
This is so cool.
Amazing. And it's like a total system turn on for you. It's like, it's almost like system porn for you, just watching the world kind of like get more and more efficient, right?
Yeah, it is really cool. It's funny. My husband, Jed.
Yeah.
Anytime we buy a new appliance, he's like, that's really just a computer that happens to wash clothes. Or that's just a dryer that's just a computer that happens to dry stuff. We're just driving around a computer that happens to take us from point A to point B. Everything's a computer now, right?
Yeah.
That happens to do one other thing. We don't have a washer and dryer. We have computers.
Right. And you know what? We as human beings, we're the ultimate computers. And that's basically what we're doing is we're cloning ourselves in so many different ways. We have little minions. These are mini-me's running around doing things.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Are those all the tips? Or I totally interrupt you. My bad.
I could probably find one more.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one about priorities. Treat it like March Madness. I know we're not in March anymore, but when you play March Madness, there only could be one winner, right? So if you're not sure what you should be working on after you've identified priorities, which priority to work on, bracket it out, kind of like a basketball tournament, and pit priorities against each other, which one's more important. And eventually, the most important priority shows up as a winner in the bracket.
Oh, so you basically take one and you take another one and you say, okay, out of these 2, which is a priority? Okay, great. And then you pick one and then you go to the next one and you just do it that way and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's like playing each other, who's going to win. And eventually a lot of people get stuck. Where do I start? Well, go download a March Madness bracket, fill in your priorities. One of them's going to win.
Wow, that's kind of cool. That's a way. That's a gamification approach, right? Kind of gamify the process for those that like games and everything. I like games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for now, just go download nancygaines.com/PASS and get started with some gaining back your time.
Right.
Spend it with. So on my own podcast, I always ask the surprise question: if you had one more hour in your day, what would you do with it? And I love the answers I get from my guests. A lot of people say self-care, I'll go outside in nature, more time with my kids, more time to read. So my gift to everybody is get back 1 hour in your day and really enjoy life.
Yeah. And what was the most unique answer you've ever heard of when you were asking those questions? Because you've had a lot of shows, so I'd be interested to hear. What was the one?
Yeah, I think I'm up to like 175. One guy, okay, here's one. He actually says, well, I already have an extra hour in my day. I said, really? He's like, yeah, I actually travel around the world. So all the time zones, by the time he gets to where he needs to go to, he's got this extra hour. And I didn't know how to answer that.
That's true. Yeah, you just gotta fly in a different direction. So I got an hour back, right? So
yeah, I had such a long pause in that podcast recording. I had to cut it down because I didn't know how to answer that.
Stumpified. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you kind of missed the point.
I know exactly. It's like, oh, he's so missed the mark. Okay, he's probably in another time zone. That's okay. All right, so very cool. What if there's any place that, what happens is that oftentimes I get amazing guests like you that come in and provide a treasure trove of like gemstones and tips and ideas, and oftentimes there's an overwhelming kind of like information overload. So aside from, and I put the link over in our Spreaker comment section, so in case people need to kind of find it, they can go right to that comment section, just click on the link to go to nancygaines.com/pass. But if they were sitting there just kind of like taking it all in right now and they're driving the car, if there's one thing that, and I know you mentioned quite a few one things, if they walk away with and never talk to you again, but what is one thing that is really kind of the pivotal thing that creates such a value of, what you bring to the table and what changes they can make in their business? If they're an entrepreneur, they're listening to this, they're excited, they want to do, aside from reaching out for you, what is one thing they can do today to kind of immediately make that shift to get that 1 hour back, even a half hour back, in their life? What would that be?
It would be stop multitasking. And the reason I picked this one.
Yes.
The reason I picked this one is it actually has science behind it. And when I speak, I have this amazing chart of if you're working on just one thing at one time, you get 100% of your attention. As soon as you work on two things and kind of like you're checking your email and writing something down, you actually lose 20% efficiency. 3 things you lose 40, 4 things you lose 60. So bottom line is just do one thing until it's done. It's almost like, I don't know if this happens to you, Wei, because you get your groceries delivered, but I like to go to the grocery store. And if I don't have a list, I'll be going down the aisles and I'll get to the end and say, oh, I forgot to get orange juice. So I'm running down to the frozen food section, right? And then I'm going back to the fruits. Then I go get meat and I'm like, that's how your brain is when you multitask. It's running all over a grocery store because you didn't organize it. If I would have been more like produce, I'm just going to do produce, and then meat, and then frozen pizza. Stop multitasking.
Yeah, and frozen pizza, make sure it's gluten-free and it's organic. But no, I love that you said that because, oftentimes I get this pushback that says, well, women are better multitaskers than men. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, they have science that shows that too. And it's still not as efficient so I love that you're female and you're actually promoting the fact that multitasking doesn't work. So I love that. Thank you.
It doesn't. It's just like the grocery store.
Just like the grocery store. No, and so because I do my grocery shopping online, I do find myself flipping back and forth a little bit too much, which, it adds up. I sit there and it's like, this is taking a lot longer than it needs to. What am I doing here? I should probably make a list first of what I want, and then I jump on here, So even that is actually can be more systematized as well. So.
I know if I stop multitasking, people gain back 5 to 10 hours a week, in addition to the hour that I'm going to give them as well. So
Yeah,
We need that.
I'm all about creating time. I have a whole set. I have a whole module that you and I can talk about offline. How I help my students and clients create time. How do they make more time in their day? And it's a really cool process. I would love to share that with you, but we can do that. We don't have to do that online here because that would be giving away too much, and people will be fire hosed already. So. But anyway, thank you so much, Nancy, for being on the show. I couldn't wait to get you on because I know a lot of what you do, it goes hand in hand with a lot of what I talk about, what I preach. And it's always good to be able to hear it from someone who actually specializes in is an expert in that area with so much experience behind it to kind of justify that, yeah, systems will set you free. Stop messing around, create those systems, align yourself with somebody such as yourself to kind of like take that load off of trying to figure it out, because you've already bring so much to the table and just kind of like cut that time in half or even less than that of getting your system or your business systematized, right?
It's been great. Thank you so much for letting me share a few tips with your listeners.
Yeah, and I look forward to hearing about any of them reaching out to you, because a few of them I think in your area have already been listening in, and they might actually kind of reach out because you are local to them in the Colorado area. So very, very cool. Well, that's our show for this week. And again, if you found this episode to be valuable and know of someone else that could benefit from what we talked about today, and you probably can think of somebody that could benefit, just think about someone who's totally disorganized and is like struggling to wear 17 different hats, and they have no free time in their life and no life except their business. Yes, share this episode with them, connect them with Nancy, and then also review us on iTunes, Spreaker, and like the episode on YouTube Live. And did you know we even have actually a Facebook group called The Money Lab, named after the show? Join us there to dive in deeper into bad money story elimination strategies. So very, very cool. Now, that's pretty much a wrap. So take this week to apply the knowledge from today. Have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week on the Money Lab live podcast, where we will have aesthetic and cosmetic acupuncturist Terry Fox from the Get Foxy show on the show. This is Wei and Nancy from the Six Figure Academy signing off. Bye. Okay, and we can say bye to the YouTube audience too. Say bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks so much, Nancy.